Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained best pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the feeling bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey.
Anyway, like I was saying, shrimp is the fruit of the sea. You can barbecue it, boil it, broil it, bake it, saute it. There's shrimp kebabs, shrimp creole, shrimp gumbo, pan fried, deep fried, stir fried. There's pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp soup, shrimp stew, shrimp salad, shrimp and potatoes, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich. That's about it.
Hey guys, welcome to the Large Marge Tennis Podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about movies that shaped their childhood. I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And I'm Sweetie with a Y.
Hey.
Hi. Well, we're back. Probably didn't feel, we've been releasing them pretty consistently, but to us, I feel like it's been a while.
It has been a while. I think because we did another one more than a week ago, right?
Yeah, we saved it.
We've been right on schedule with the releasing on Mondays, but had some stuff to do this weekend. Couldn't pull off, releasing on Monday. So we watched today Forrest Gump.
Didn't work.
Forrest, run, Forrest. Is it run, Forrest, run?
Yeah.
Run, Forrest, run. Half the fun of doing this podcast today is going to be doing those southern accents, I got to say, because they are funny to do.
I like it. I like it a lot.
I like it a lot. Guys, Forrest Gump. This movie's from 1994. Awesome movie. What I said today to Sweetie as we were watching this, to me, this is me personally, this is a perfect film. It is just enjoyable to watch. It's funny. There's laughter, tears, a romance,
lots of tears,
action, history. It's like basically a history
I learned
lesson.
all my history from Forrest Gump. I'll be honest.
And apparently, Tom Hanks read the script and was like, "I'm signing on to this movie. Great part. It's going to win me an Oscar." He didn't say that, but this is what I think he's thinking.
He doesn't care about that. He's too modest.
Totally. But he signed on. He's like, "Listen, Robert Zemeckis,
Bobby Z,
our favorite director, guys. Basically, we talk about all the time.
Yeah,
we love him.
Stevie Spills, we love you too.
Yeah, but Robbie Z, awesome. Yeah. Robert Z. He's like, Robbie, I'm gonna do this movie. Fucking great role. Here's the deal. Got to make it historically accurate. So you got to understand that. Yes, this is a history lesson because Tom Hanks wouldn't have signed on if it wasn't. They had to make it accurate, which they kind of did.
It wasn't accurate before?
No, I think he was like, listen, I'm going to sign on this movie, but here's what you need to do. I don't know if they were going to take some leaps and they weren't going to do as much research or something like that. I don't know. I don't know how it works when you put together a film like this because it's intense. But it's fucking amazing. It's a perfect film. It hits all the notes. Obviously, so perfect that it won the Oscar for 1995 when Tom Hanks his first Oscar. Wait, yes.
Second?
Was Philadelphia after this? I forget. Anyway, he's two. Remember, he's two.
Yep.
And so one of them, awesome. And then won a couple of won 6 Oscars. I forget all the different
Forrest
ones. Yeah,
Best Picture.
Yep.
Some other stuff.
Yeah, I think Robert Zemeckis won for adapting the screenplay, which remind me again what this is based off of. It's a book, correct?
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
I don't know, but apparently it's not very good, and it's the funny stuff in this that Forrest, they're saying he caused the things you had such a problem with the smiley face.
Yep.
So it's that, but times 20, because I think it gets even crazier in the book, and he goes to the moon or into space or something. So I think it's just it turned up in the book a lot, but
Yeah, they toned it down. Okay. Yeah. The writer of the novel is Winston Groom.
Winston.
Yeah. And then the screenplay was by this guy named Eric Roth. But I know... Okay, here's the Oscars. I want to get this right because this is legit here. Yeah. Best Picture. Tom Hanks. Got it. Tom Hanks. Right. Got it. Okay, yeah. Best Director. Best Director, Avi. The screenplay one. And the film editing. And the visual effects.
Oh, yeah, those no legs, it's just like...
I mean, this was a pretty big deal. So I remember when this came out, don't think I saw this in the movie theater.
I don't think so.
No, I was only 10.
We were not wise enough.
Yeah. But obviously got so much buzz after. And we watched it, I think we rented it. And I remember watching it pretty little because there were scenes that, I was confused or grossed out. Or was the Vietnam War scene was pretty scary to me. Like it was intense. And it's probably like the least violent Vietnam War scene you've ever encountered in film. So that doesn't say much for me in my like level, but I was probably only like 12. Anyway.
Scary. People getting blown up and shit.
But I remember when this came out, what they did with the CGI, with especially inserting Forrest Gump into actual footage, which take that how you will. A lot of people don't like that part of this movie,
it looks
right?
stupid now, but like when I was little, guys, that was like peak sweetie confusion. That was like a really cruel joke to play on poor little confused sweetie over here. Because I was like, wait, what? I'm like, how did Tom Hanks know they needed this footage back then? Was he there? Like, what? I was so confused. It took me a while. I finally get it. But now looking at it, it does look off. And like the when the mouths move, it's just like a little...
The one where it's like President Johnson after he shows him his butt after the thing, that CGI is like really bad. He's like walking towards the camera and his face is like off of his body. Yeah. You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, what's happening?
Obviously now that we're like used to such like crazy amounts of CGI, but I thought for 1994, almost like Jurassic Park, like
fooled me.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome job. And then all the war scenes, that was like CGI. They CGI'd like the crowd in the Vietnam protest in Washington D.C. I mean, all these like little parts to make these sort of
Lieutenant Dan's legs.
Yeah, that was huge. So, amazing film. One I always cry at. Check my Instagram story because I posted my tears. I went to a funeral today, so like probably not the best time to like watch this film because I already had sort of been crying all day. And then I watched this movie, and you're like, fuck this, because it's real sad.
It is. Well, just like, I mean, I'd say there's like three main sad parts, but yeah, the end is always pretty rough. And I remember this is definitely one of those movies that I watched when I was little where I was like, don't cry. Because remember we talked about this, how like when you're little and you watch a movie, you like didn't want to cry because you're just like you weren't comfortable like showing like that level of emotion or admitting. I think it was more of the like admitting that it affected you kind of thing because you needed to be like a cool person even though no one was watching. It was like just me, but I'd be like, can't cry, I can't do it.
I love crying now. I mean,
sure, now I love it.
It's like as an adult, I mean, obviously depending on what's going on in your life, you don't get to cry a lot, and I feel like this is why adults are like pent up and ragey and like have all these emotions because you don't have that like catharsis of being able to cry, whereas like little kids cry all the time, right?
You need to cry more or have more orgasms.
Whoa,
I think there's a few things that could be done. But yes,
but I like crying, and I love crying for. I mean, I don't like crying, but I like crying for movies because it does feel like very like you have all these emotions inside, and they're just like running through your head, and then it's just like a physical, manifestation of that, which is, I feel great right now.
Wow.
It's like I just took
100%.
I know. It's awesome. But I love this movie. As if you are a listener of the podcast, you know how much we love Tom Hanks. I mean, in our eyes, that guy could do no wrong. That guy is just the best. He's my favorite actor, hands down.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Totally.
I love him. And he nails this role. And it's like, it's tough when you're doing, a role. Okay, so what's the deal with Forrest Gump, right? What's his deal? Now that we've had a little bit more, momentum on not mental illnesses, but what is that like? Spectrum disorders, let's say. Okay. So autism and Asperger's and stuff is just something that's so part of the dialogue now. In the 90s, it wasn't at all. So I think Forrest Gump was kind of like this is an old term, but like idiot savant, right? Kind of like that. And they call him stupid in this movie. But now like we have just many more words to describe it. We have actual like people that are diagnosed with something, you know, it's a diagnosable condition now. But where was I going with this? I don't remember.
Well, I think he just the thing to remember about Forrest is that he just sees the world in a different way. Right. It's very black and white. Like it's very simple to him. And actually, I mean, it's what helps him have such like a positive outlook on life. I feel like he doesn't see race. He just sees people and like friends and people who he loves, and he doesn't understand why. Like he says, whenever he's talking about something bad, like an assassination, he's always like, for no reason at all, even though to the people that did it, they had a reason.
Yeah,
but to his mind, it's not a reason, and which it really isn't when you think about it.
And what I also like about Forrest is that, you know, this theme in this movie is that people just keep calling him stupid because, like I said, they don't understand like what he had. You know, they call it like low IQ or like whatever. But he's not stupid at all, first of all. And like whatever is IQ, like fuck that. That's a dumb test and doesn't mean anything. Yeah. But he listens. He listens to people and he remembers, and he ends up becoming very best friends with people. And becomes like an incredible, ends up being a husband, but we'll say how like legit that really is. Son, whatever job he has to do. Like there's something about like him in that, like you said, he sees things differently, but also that because people take him for granted, like it means he's able to do so much. You know, and I just love that about like his personality. And I think Tom Hanks, why he won the Oscar, is that he like just delivered that like so well. And I know there's like a lot of talk when you have parts like this, when you don't give them to people nowadays, you don't give them to people who are actually have that problem. You know, like if it's a disabled person, they want a disabled person to be playing that. They don't want a person who can walk in a wheelchair, you know, that kind of a thing. So it's always kind of touchy when you have someone who isn't afflicted with that, has to act that out. But, you know, I think he does a wonderful job. And I love him. I'm glad he got the Oscar. Apparently he wanted to make a sequel of this. Can you believe that? He did? No. Like it was because it made so much money. I mean, it was huge. Yeah. So also what Tom Hanks did, this is a trivia bit I read, that he decided not to be paid for this movie in like a salary, like pay me $2 million, whatever. He did the smart thing, probably knew it was going to be like a blockbuster, and did the percentage of the gross kind of a thing in his contract. So he made, get this, $40 million. Like, oh my God, so smart. So anyway, obviously, huge movie. They're like, let's make a sequel, like all the stupid movie houses do. And Tom Hanks was like, No, and supposedly Tom Hanks is like against most sequels. I guess it's like a thing. He
what
refused
about
to sign on.
Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3?
Except for the Toy Stories, they said. And actually the Dan Brown movies. Yeah. Which are busted and bad. So I'm like, why'd you make those?
Why are we going with those, Tom?
Oh my God, his hair in those are like, what is
money's
happening?
running out? Oh, I can't handle it. It's a mob. It's man bob kind of, but like curly.
Looks like J.C. Chazé in that like weird photo we saw of him recently. Anyway, I could talk all day about Tom Hanks. I won't.
Apparently.
And there's other great people in this too. Great cast, right? So we got Sally Field. Amazing. In every role she plays. Let's be honest.
Sure. She's in that new TV show Maniac on Netflix.
Oh, awesome.
Pleasure. Yeah. Real pleasure to see her. Yeah.
Robin Wright, probably one of the most beautiful women in the world. She is stunning. Stunning in this. Great turn as Jenny, my girl. Jenny. Last name Curran.
I know.
Who knew?
I don't know why that's like a thing. Like why because I was looking at the quotes on IMDb and they have to like credit all the Jenny quotes. They're not just Jenny. It's like Jenny Curran or Jenny Curran or whatever. And like it's like what's happening here? Like why?
You would never know
ever
that
said her last
it was
name
on his letters. Her name is never said. It's on the letters to her.
Why are we being like, oh, that's her last name?
Yeah. I don't know. Bullshit. Who else? Gary Sinise. Amazing.
Gary.
He was nominated for Best Supporting, didn't win, but he's awesome in this. Lieutenant Dan, I mean, that is like one of the best characters in the history of cinema. Like, let's be honest.
He has his problems.
Yeah.
But
he's got his problems, but he really turns it around. Who else? Anyone else? Yeah.
Little Haley Joel Osment. First movie role.
Oh,
he's like a little Muppet
he's
baby.
A Muppet, maybe. He's like a Muppet baby.
Muppet baby. Haley Joel's real sweet.
Oh God, he's so cute. Little Forrest. Oh my God.
That mop of hair.
Yeah, it's adorable.
Too cute.
So fantastic movie. I hadn't seen it in a couple years, so it was great. It's long, but it needs to be long because it like covers like basically his whole life. And I enjoyed it immensely.
Ugh,
I hope
too.
the synopsis doesn't get like out of control
Might
because
get
there's like
out of
so many
control.
parts.
I
to
made
it,
a map,
but-
though.
Oh my god, you did what I usually do.
Well, I just wanted to keep track of like the
The
main.
student becomes the master.
I just wanted to keep track of like the main bullet points here.
Good call.
So we could like.
I was too
keep
busy
things
crying.
rolling. You only cried at the end.
I cried twice.
What?
I always cried at the Bubba scene, and then I cried. At the end.
Oh, I didn't really cry at the boa scene.
Oh, and I cried in the beginning too. Oh, on the bus. I think I
What?
cried on the bus too.
When it just started. Oh boy! All right. Well, let's unpack that and get into the synopsis.
Okay. It's time for the sweetie synopsis. Yes, sweeties. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Unless there's a map on the back of the box of the chocolates that tells you exactly what the fuck you're gonna get. Man,
That's not all chocolates. I look for that map all the time, and not every brand.
Remember
makes that.
recently
Yeah.
when we had the chocolate box and
Yeah.
I had to eat all. I had to take a bite of
Yep.
all the chocolates to make sure there wasn't wheat in them.
Here's the thing:
That's fucked
candy manufacturers. You need to put a map in your chocolates because you have people like me who are gluten free and like maybe can't have the ones that have
And other
like wafers in them.
allergies. Yeah.
Want to hear a funny story? So I was at a funeral today, and it was in a
Okay.
Catholic mass.
Uh-huh.
And if you've ever been to a Catholic mass, they do communion.
Yep.
So you go up and get the bread.
Body of Christ.
And my mom was like, whispers to me, she's like, "You're not going to go up, are you?" I'm like, "What?" I was like, "I always go up." And she's like, "But you can't eat the bread." I was like, "Oh, Carol, watch this." Because I have this whole scheme where I like go up to the priest and I'm like, "Body of Christ, amen." And then I just like palm it essentially and like fake eat it. It's in my purse right now if you want to eat it.
Oh my god, get it out! I haven't seen one of those in a dog's age. You know they have gluten free ones now. I think.
Yeah,
You
I'm
just,
not
like-
gonna go up to like the priest who is like literally 90 years old and be like,
It'd be
"Where's
funny
my
if
gluten
they
free
had,
wafer?"
Like, they had like a secret little compartment of gluten free communion wafers like in the back, and the priest like walks all the way to the back like real slow or something. Wow, this is amazing. I bet it's not even crumbly because it's like
Oh, it's not. Andre, body of Christ.
wow. Is it? I think it's sacrilege if I eat it. I don't want to go to hell,
No,
but I do want to taste it.
Taste it. Is it stale? Okay, guys, this has nothing to do with the movie, but if you're just joining us,
It really
Sweetie
tastes-
is eating a communion wafer.
It really tastes like cardboard. It's amazing.
does.
It's weird. I think it is cardboard.
It's
Ugh.
disgusting.
It's so gross. I remember the first one we had at First Communion. We were like,
Yeah. You're like, this was not worth all those CCD classes.
Definitely
That's
not.
what I told Mom. She's like, you don't have to go up there. I was like, I went through years of CCD to be able to get this communion.
I went through years of CCD. You did not. You stopped.
I went the 2 that it took to get to communion.
2 years, big deal. Went for like all of high school.
Whatever. You make the sacrament, you get to go up there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. All right. Back to the synopsis.
Back to the synopsis. Hey.
Forrest Gump lives in Greenville, Alabama with his mother. And I missed this part, but did they ever talk about why his leg, he just like had trouble walking, or like he couldn't walk, or he just couldn't walk
I think
well?
he had, it said his legs were really strong, remember? And his back was crooked like a question mark.
So he had scoliosis?
Scoliosis, essentially, yeah.
But why didn't he have a back brace? He's had a leg brace.
I guess that was it, like making it so he was walking funny or something. I don't know. I have no idea.
I need to take a drink to wash this wafer out.
Ew.
It's really nasty, you guys. It's like stuck in my teeth. Okay. So Forrest has these leg braces and he's going to school and he's a little different than everybody else. And he gets on the bus and nobody fucking wants to sit with him. All these like future racist pieces of shit are like, "Seat's taken. Can't sit here. I'm racist."
Racist pieces of shit. They're 5.
I
They were
guarantee you.
I mean, I'm sure they're racist because they grew up to be the guys
Yeah.
who like run after him in the car. But they're just assholes because like this I don't get. Like, how do you get to be an asshole as a kid when you're basically like this clean slate? Obviously, your parents teach you to be assholes, but like you know, that's what's sometimes great about kids because you don't have like that dump of like all the shit that happens to you when you're an adult that makes you shitty.
But they've never seen somebody like Forrest, so they get. I'm not defending them, but
But
I just
he doesn't
I think
look
that's where
weird,
that comes from.
and he
Well,
talks a
funny.
little like not that bad. I don't know. I just think most time kids like don't care about that stuff, you know. And like we teach kids to care about that's how you turn into a racist because you basically like are taught to be one.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's so troubling. Like, what is going on in that town? Those people are assholes.
It's the South.
I know.
No offense. Okay, so he gets in the bus, but one person lets him sit down, and that is little Jenny. And she doesn't really care. She asks him if he's stupid, and he's like, stupid is, stupid does. Sweetie, can you explain that to me?
Okay, I had to think this through, like, the whole movie. Ready? Okay, stupid is basically like what you are not stupid as a person. It's what you do that's stupid. It's your actions versus like you as a person cannot be stupid. It's your actions that are stupid.
There's something about the way that's like written that it doesn't make sense to me. I still don't really get it, but I'll go with it.
I wonder if I wrote all the quotes, Mama's quotes down. I'll call them. We'll go over them later. But I wonder if those are in the book or those were like purely from the screenplay.
I don't know.
I bet like the box of chocolates ones from the book.
Could do a Sweetie Book Club Part 2.
Oh God, it's probably gonna be horrible. That's the thing. These Sweetie Book Clubs are like trash bag books because that's why they turn into such good movies because the books are shitty.
We've only done one,
and I didn't finish it.
I know.
My book club, I didn't finish. It's horrible.
Travesty. Yeah. So he meets Jenny, and they become, as Forrest says, like peas and carrots. They're together forever. But then Jenny has a bad life. Her dad's a child molester and like beats her up and shit. It's real bad. It's a bad situation. She gets taken away and goes to live with her grandma, which like I wish she lived with her grandma the whole fucking time.
What the hell? I mean, I'm glad they even had like social services at all.
I know.
Because it
How
seems
did that
like
even happen?
When you watch this movie, and especially through the lens of 2018, when we have basically like all these things that could have helped these people out immensely, all the big like a lot of the big things that happen now are pretty much like not an issue anymore because we have all these either programs or medicines or like whatever. But in this one case, there was some sort of social services because they found out that that guy was molesting and hitting his daughters and they got taken away from him. So that's pretty cool. Go social services in Alabama.
There were daughters plural, but only Jenny went to live with her
never seen
grandma.
the other daughters.
What the fuck? And what
Maybe
about
they
the
were
mom?
there too, but you didn't like.
Yeah.
No, the mom was dead, wasn't she? That was the whole thing.
That makes sense.
And
Okay.
he was drunk.
I see. Yeah, so that's fucked up. One day, the local racists are chasing Forrest Gump, and he has to run, and Jenny's like, "Run, Forrest, run!" You know, it's that like great scene. It's really classic.
So good.
Although it's like, I hate that the first one with little Jenny, she's like, "Run, Forrest, run!" That makes everything so cheesy when that happens. You know, like I wish that wasn't like that, but you can't change it, guys. Bobby C maybe do like a re-edit. I don't know.
Oh, it's perfect. It's a perfect movie. Don't touch it.
The part's only embarrassing. Okay, so his leg braces come off, and he can run really freaking fast. And he carries this up through high school, and he's running also. And he runs all the way across a football field. And then a college recruiter sees him in the crowd, and like, who the hell is that? And they're like, that's the local idiot, sir, Forrest Gump. And then he's like, well, I'm gonna put him on my college football team. So now,
whatever that position that runs a lot,
running back.
I have a fantasy team. I should know this. What is that position that runs a lot?
Right, it's probably not. Everyone's gonna be like, it's the blah blah blah. You dummies.
Wide receiver? Those are the two that run, I think.
That's the one that catches it. But the runner, you pass the ball to the runner, but you could also like run and catch it. I don't know.
I'm gonna guess it's the one with running in its name, but just throwing that out there.
Let's go with that. So he gets a full ride to college on a scholarship, basically, which is pretty fucking cool. So
Alabama State or University
like
of Alabama. One of those.
So he and Jenny remain friends. Jenny goes to like a women's college, and so he sees her sometimes. But after college, Forrest goes to the army because some dick's face. Sorry, no, that's wrong. Some nice veteran comes up to him and says, "Do you ever think what you want to do with your life?" Blah 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 blah.
Which was good for him because it's not like he really could get a job. Like a desk job, let's say, with like him having a little bit like less of an IQ. I don't know what he would have done, but really perfect opportunity for him. But unfortunately, what's breaking out right around this time? Vietnam War. So he gets shipped off to Nam. One of the, I think, first. Well, this was probably what at this point, mid 60s, right? Like 65 or something. So goes to war. Sorry, goes to boot camp and meets his buddy old pal, Bubba. Buford.
Don't be distracted by the
Buford Bubba. Blue?
No. It's like Buford. No, his last name's Buford, right?
Bubba.
No.
Buford for Bubba?
It's just like a lot of B's.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot
stuff.
of B's. He's a really cool name. His name is Bubba.
Benjamin. I think it's Benjamin. Buford Blue.
That's it. Bubba meets him on the bus. Has a big lip that sticks out real fat. And he seems like he's maybe a little bit, quote unquote, slow too. But I don't know. I think he just has like kind of like that physical impairment. He might have a little bit of autism maybe too.
Peas and carrots.
Yeah.
2 peas in a pod, I should say.
So they really hit it off. And Forrest Gump is amazing in the Army because he just has that mind that basically, like, you tell him to do something, he's going to do it. And like I said, kind of like this idiot savant. So he is actually can do things that are a little bit more like routine or like mechanical, has certain steps to follow. Like he'll do it.
It's right in his wheelhouse.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's great in the Army. So they get shipped off to Vietnam, and they meet, their Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
And they are in Vietnam, and everything's going great. He's writing letters home. There's a monsoon season, so it's like raining a lot. Trying to keep their socks dry.
Walking a lot.
Yada yada yada.
Blah blah.
Monsoon season finally
Over.
ends. Hooray!
Bombs.
Not over Baghdad.
Yep. No.
Bombs over Vietnam. And they get ambushed. You know how Vietnam was basically just like ambush, like just walking along and people start shooting at you. It's nuts. So huge ambush. Whole platoon basically like dies. Jenny had told Forrest, "Don't you be brave over there. If you get into trouble, you run out of there." So what does Forrest do?
He runs. Although
runs.
Bubba and Lieutenant Dan also told him to run. So is she going to take credit for that? Or did he forget momentarily and then they reminded him? Or I don't know. But he fucking runs. He gets all the way to the edge and gets to the edge of the water and then realizes he left his whole platoon behind. So he goes back. He keeps finding injured men and carries them back, finds Lieutenant Dan. Lieutenant Dan's like, no, leave me here. Because he has this stupid idea that every guy in his family died in a war. So he needs to also. Stupid. But he saves them anyways. And then he goes back, finally finds Bubba. Poor Bubba. His insides are on the outside. Doesn't look like he's going to make it. But Forrest picks him up anyways. He's really strong. He was
really strong.
Carrying a lot heavy dudes. But carries him back and then.
But you know that thing when you have adrenaline pumping and you need to save somebody, you
sure.
become the strongest
never
person
happened to
in the
me,
world.
but I would like to see if that's true or not. Not that I don't really.
People moving cars off of people.
That's the,
my fourth grade teacher told me this story about there was he was hauling a refrigerator across a railroad track. I don't know why.
Who is this?
Mr. Packett.
Okay, he was giant. He probably was no big deal.
He was like a kid, and then it got stuck, and then the train started coming, and he was just so freaked out about it, and this adrenaline just kicked in. He was able to lift the fridge off the railroad track and throw it off of it. Who knows if this is a real story?
But if the train hit the fridge, nothing bad. It's just
no, but he wanted the fridge. He was carrying the fridge somewhere. I don't know why he was carrying it across a railroad track.
So bad, God,
crazy.
Life and death, Mr. Packett, Jim. So yeah. So adrenaline. Bubba dies in his arms. It's very sad. Sweetie cried. And
I was crying at that part. I want to go home, Forrest.
Yeah,
He's so sweet.
He's real sweet, that Bubba. But Forrest kept a promise to Bubba, which was to get a shrimping boat together and go shrimping. So he's going to do that. First, he needs some money. The way Forrest gets money is, he's in the hospital for a while because he got shot in the buttocks.
$1 million injury.
While he's there, he learns to play ping pong. And that's another thing he's really good at because he just has to do one thing and he just stays focused on one thing.
Keep your eye on the ball.
So he becomes this amazing ping pong player and travels around the world playing for the U.S. team, the U.S. Army team. And he makes $25,000 just through advertising alone. Can you imagine? It's pretty great. So that's his money. So he gets discharged from the Army. Lieutenant Dan was there also, BT Dubs. Lost both of his legs. He's very upset and angry about it and takes it out on Forrest. And it's very upsetting.
Yep. And never even says thank you for saving my life
until way later.
So back
and
up,
he doesn't even really.
When he comes back from the Army, we just forgot this part. He gets Medal of Honor and he gets to go to the White House. And at that time, this was 1967, 8, and all these Vietnam. So the veterans were coming home and protesting against the war. You had all the hippies protesting against the war. So there's big rally in Washington D.C. led by who do we look it up? Abby Hoffman.
Abby.
This big, Vietnam War protester. And he gets roped into like, they think he's like a veteran protesting the Vietnam War. So they make him speak, but like he really isn't because he doesn't know what's going on. And who happens to be at this rally but Jenny. And he had said bye to Jenny right before the war. And she sees him and they have this lovely, happy reunion, finds out what she's been doing. She's been doing the hippie thing,
hanging out with the Black Panthers.
Hanging out with the Black Panthers.
Has an abusive boyfriend.
Yeah, bummer. Wesley. So they reconnect for a little bit and he is always very protective of her and wants her to be in his life, but she's like, I'm no good for you. Like, love you to pieces, but like, peace out. We've got different lives, right? So
say goodbye again.
Yeah, say goodbye again. So after that, he goes to
gets discharged from the army.
Yeah. Goes to New York.
Why
does he end up in New York?
Because he's on the talk show.
Oh, he's on a talk show. Yeah. So then he's making the rounds on the talk show because he went to China with the ping pong, and that was a huge deal because it was communist China, and we were all anti-communist, all that stuff. And runs into Lieutenant Dan in a wheelchair, looking a little worse for wear, let's say.
He looks like a homeless person who like holds up a gross sign in Times Square. That's probably what he did during the day.
Yeah. I mean, he's an alcoholic who hasn't had a haircut or a shave in, a couple years. He's not doing that great.
No.
But nice reunion. Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Christmas. It's like Christmas and New Year's Eve, I guess.
Lieutenant Dan like introduces him to like two hoes, and they have like a makeout sesh at the apartment. But like Forrest doesn't want to make out with the girl because she tastes like cigarettes, and she calls Forrest stupid. And Lieutenant Dan gets very upset and is like, "What'd you say? Don't you ever call him stupid?" And then it's this great scene, and you're like, oh, like Lieutenant Dan really does love him, and like even though he's never said thank you, I think he does value the fact that Forrest saved his life.
Yep. So Forrest, tells him about the shrimping boat plan, and Bubba was supposed to be the captain, and Forrest was going to be the first mate. Now Forrest is the captain, so he needs a first mate, and he kind of offers that job to Lieutenant Dan, and Lieutenant Dan laughs in his face. He goes, "If
he offers him the job, no, isn't he? Like
tells him
he
about
just
it?
Says, yeah, and he's like, "I'll tell you what, if you become captain of a shrimp boat, I'll be your first mate."
Yeah. Or like, I'll be an astronaut or something. Like
he just doesn't believe it would happen.
Yeah.
So then Forrest gets discharged from the army, goes home. That's where he finds out he has like $25,000
sponsorship for the ping pong paddles.
So he uses that money to buy a shrimp boat, and he goes off and tries to be a shrimp boat captain. It's like harder than it seems.
I mean, know how to do it.
He really has no experience. All he's going off of is like what Bubba told him, which was basically just like you throw the net in the water and then you pick it up. Also, here's 150,000 ways that you can eat shrimp, and like that's all he knows.
Because Bubba did work on the shrimp boats.
Yeah.
No,
he knew stuff, and he always talked about it. But it's not like Forrest had that firsthand knowledge. So he names his boat Jenny, and he's like trying. He's just getting toilet seats. It's not great. And then who should be on the dock but Lieutenant Dan?
Yeah, one day Lieutenant Dan just Jan.
I wish it was Lieutenant Jan.
That'd be amazing. Lieutenant Dan just shows up. And he's like, hey, and I think he had written him, right? Because, like...
No, he saw him...
He saw him in the newspaper?
Oh, maybe he wrote him, I think.
I guess maybe he writes tons of letters.
Yeah, he's always writing letters.
Forrest is an avid... What is that called when you write a lot of letters? It's like a something.
Pen pal?
No, there's like a formal name for it.
Stenographer? Just kidding.
Loves writing letters, that guy. And he wrote a letter to Lieutenant Dan, be like, yo, got my shrimp boat. Come down, be my first mate. So he fucking shows up. So good for Lieutenant Dan.
Now they're now they're buds and shrimping.
So Lieutenant Dan's still going through some tough times. There's kind of this like weird religious part to it where like he, being in the VA, I guess they pushed a lot of those veterans into like believing in God and like this is the path that was chosen for you. And he's just like really resentful and like just depressed because he doesn't have legs. And he's like, it's like it's tough. He wants to walk around and he can't. But so they're trying to shrimp, really not getting any, and then they get caught in this huge storm. Mm-hmm. And
this hurricane, right?
Yeah, hurricane. Lieutenant Dan ties himself to the mast and is like in the hurricane, like wow, like freaking out.
I mean, that's terrifying. It's like Pippi Longstocking when she was like in the crow's nest. I'm like, what are you doing up there?
It was crazy. So what happens is the whole like shrimp fleet down in Louisiana, like all their boats get wrecked except the Jenny. So the Jenny is the only one standing. So then they have to be like the main shrimpers. Because like, was the theory that they weren't getting shrimps because like all the other boats were getting the
that's what I
shrimps?
was gonna say. So obviously, sweetie confusion for me because I thought because he went to church and prayed that God was like, here's a storm that's going to blow all the shrimp up and then you can catch them.
That's what I thought.
No,
I was
but
like,
I think
it was the hurricane that blew the shrimps in.
It is the other thing that like
Okay.
all the other boats were out of commission, so they were the only ones catching the shrimps. Because Forrest has a line like, I guess people still needed to eat their cocktail shrimps and blah 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 blah. So that's why. But yeah, total sweetie confusion. Glad we cleared that up. So now they're like millionaires because they have this Bubba Gump Shrimp Corporation.
Yeah,
they got
so
all
they
these
made-
boats.
Yeah, they made a
It's
corporation
great.
about it. They're real businessmen.
great,
They're on
it's
the cover
great.
of Fortune or like
Yeah,
whatever that is.
so they're famous.
So then they're like sailing one day, and then they get word that Forrest's mom is sick. So he goes home, take care of her. She's dying. So that's
got
really
the-
sad. But,
she's got
you
the
know,
cancer.
She's an old lady. She's got the cancer. She's an old lady. So, you know, as she always says, dying's a part of life. Mom always
just
said.
my time.
Yep. So that's really sad for him. But and then after that, he decides he's just signing over the shrimping business to Lieutenant Dan. He's going to run that. And then they invested in stocks. Ends up investing in Apple
Good one.
and becoming bajillionaires. And then he doesn't have to worry about money anymore.
Nope.
So sweet.
But he
So-
still takes a little job mowing the lawn at the school. So
yeah.
there's
So
that.
he's living at the old plantation, just hanging out. Who shows up at his door one day?
Jenny.
And poor Jenny has been living up the decades, essentially. So, you know, she was a hippie in the 60s.
Uh-huh.
So then, of course, she is a disco diva wearing,
Studio 54.
you know, chainmail, halter tops, and doing a lot of coke and
More
heroin.
like glitter sequin halter tops, but yes.
Yeah.
Heroin, coke,
Yeah.
going for little like joy rides on the top of the building.
Yep. Getting beat up again. She's got these abusive boyfriends.
I mean, that's
you know.
her childhood. It just like keeps
Yep.
happening. It's awful.
Yep.
But
She always comes back to Forrest.
she always comes back. So she shows up one night and she's kind of taking a break, I would say, from her life. Because there's that line where Forrest says it's like she went to sleep and slept for like years that she missed sleeping or something. Because really she didn't. She just was constantly on the go, never really had a home, always moving from one place to another. What a crazy life.
Yeah, and she's doing all these drugs.
Yeah.
So she's probably like
Yeah.
always up.
So she's like, gotta relax, gonna take a vacation. So she's, you know, her and Forrest are hanging out. One night, she strolls into his little bungalow and is like, let's have sex. So she just like gets on top of him basically and has sex with him.
Well, remember, he asked her to marry her.
Oh, yeah. And she says no.
And she said
like,
no.
You don't
he's-
want to marry
and
me.
his feelings are really hurt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So she
So
feels
that's why she does
bad.
it.
So she goes and she has sex with him. And then she leaves the next morning. So Forrest is he's really torn up about this. And he's just like sitting and staring. And then he decides he's just going to run. And he runs across the fucking United States of America. And he does that for 3 fucking years. If you want to know what my personal hell is, it's envisioning running for 3 years straight. I'd rather die. Like sometimes if I'm
He
like
didn't really do it straight though. That's how they portray it. But he
I know.
stopped. He
When I
slept.
was-
He ate.
I know.
You know, he went to the bathroom. It wasn't like that's what he did during the like all day every day. But like he
still,
slept.
like I hate running, and but yeah, sweetie confusion. I thought he just ran continuously for 3
I
years,
did
and
too.
I was like, when did he sleep? When did he eat? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But now I get it. But yeah, that part's crazy. So Jenny sees him running, and it's like makes the news, and it's this big thing. So she sees him. She writes him a letter. So he goes down to Atlanta to meet her.
No, Savannah.
Or sorry, Savannah to reunite. He gets there. Big surprise, sweetie. Jenny has a son.
Oh my god!
Guess what his name is?
Little Forrest.
Little Forrest. Named after his daddy, Forrest Gump Sr. That one time having sex
Magic
made
sperm.
a baby.
I mean,
made a baby.
It never had been able to come out before.
It's
so
true.
he
Is
was
that how
saving
that
all
works?
that in.
I feel like they'd all be dead.
No,
like, do
that's
they all
not how
die
it
in there?
works.
I don't
No,
know.
that's the thing with men. They like constantly make new stuff. It's not like women where you have like
No,
ancient
but-
eggs inside of you. No.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So he's a father, and it's a beautiful scene. He's like, oh my god, Little Forrest, most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Probably cried again. And then Jenny tells him, oh no,
She's
I'm sick. I have a virus. We'll talk about this later. We'll go into depth about what we think that was. But anyway, she basically has a terminal illness. So, and at this point, she's working at she's a waitress, like in some diner or whatever. So Forrest is like, listen, I got billions of dollars. Come live with me in the plantation house. I'll take care of you. And then Jenny asks him to marry. You know, what a progressive gal. Asks him to marry her. So they have this beautiful wedding at the house, and they are able to be a little family for I mean, who knows what like the time frame is, but I'd say like a couple months before she gets really sick and then dies. So it ends up being just Forrest and little Forrest in the house, and he buries Jenny in the back under the tree that they always used to hang on, which is adorable. And then I just cried a lot, and it was over.
And then the feather floats away on the wind, and that's it.
Life is beautiful.
Yeah, really, really great movie. Obviously, lots of parts, so we didn't go into detail, but we will right now. So, okay. I mean, so like I said, for me, there's always 3 like traumatic scenes, and it's Bubba's death.
Yep.
Mama's death, which wasn't as sad this time, but I think when I was little, I was really sad about it because I hated like parents dying things. And then 3, the end scene at the grave.
Okay. So I misspoke before because the first scene I cried was not on the bus. You're right. It was the part where she tells him in Vietnam, be careful.
Oh, yeah.
And just run.
That's
Remember?
Me. You grabbed my leg
grabbed
and you were
your
like,
leg.
he does.
No, I just got really emotional. So like there's a scene where he learns that she is in Memphis or Nashville or something, Tennessee, singing at some bar. Well, it's actually like a titty bar. And she's this cool.
But good on the guy that owned that bar for letting her just like sit, because presumably that was her whole act, was just sitting up there with the guitar.
That's how the guys
and
were
not
pissed.
showing things. Yeah, but the man, like if it was like some asshole guy, he would have been like,
Totally.
show them titties.
Yeah. Well, basically that's what he did. So she's this like Bobby Dylan is her stripper name, and she's like playing the whatever the Bob Dylan song.
Roads must a
Man walk on before you call him a man. So she's singing topless. She's underwear on.
Oh, she does?
She does. Because you see her from the back, and it's like nude and like high heels. And yeah, so she's at a titty bar. And these guys kind of start to harass her. So, this pretty much through the entire movie, there's this, whenever she's in trouble, Forrest will come to her rescue and always tries to save her. So he takes her off stage, and she like is kind of mad at him, and she's kind of talking to him, and it's at this point like the beginning of her being like really fucked up is kind of like this time. So she kind of blows him off, which is like kind of sad, and she's like, I gotta get out of here. So she like hitches a ride, and he's just like, bye Jenny, like I'm going to Vietnam. And she just like stops, and she like has to talk to him because people knew like that was happening. People were going to war and just not coming back. So she knew how serious that was, and tells him what that line I said before, like, you don't be brave when you're there, like you just run. Like she knows he's such a runner, and that can get him out of a lot of sticky situations. And like we said, he listens to her. For some reason I just burst into tears.
She did.
Because I said, I was like, he listened to her.
Oh, sweetie. Okay. So just going back to this running for 3 years thing, I think the thing that really sets me off about that, just like, well, because Jenny does the same thing where she's just like, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Literally has no possessions and gets in a car and drives somewhere. Like, that's my worst nightmare. Forrest Gump, hopefully he had his wallet, but like, how is he buying shit? Like, he changes his clothes, if he's sleeping, eating, like,
well,
what's happening
let's remember
there?
This is like the 80s, so it's not like there wasn't really anything in your wallet anyway. It's not like he had credit cards or anything. Number 2, I think he was getting mostly like everything donated to him because he had such a following. So everywhere he went,
that was only after
free.
like a year.
He was
or
probably
whatever.
couch surfing, able to sleep on people's couches, getting free meals, getting free clothes. I mean, I was more worried about the shoes because what did I tell you? Like running shoes, it's only like a couple hundred miles.
That's what I said, and you were like, those Nikes, man, and I was like, no.
They were like 1970s
Maybe
Nikes.
he just kept getting the same pair of Nikes,
Yes.
and it's that. But
no, but isn't it? No, it's not, because remember the beginning of the movie, they show him sitting on the bench, and the close-up is of his
but those are
busted
like the
running
most
shoes.
recent ones because of that.
Because that was right after. Remember, because he comes home and then like gets the letter from her immediately, cuts all his hair and goes to visit her.
I know,
It's like
I'm
right
not
after
saying,
the
but
running.
I'm saying that those might not be the original sneakers
I
that
think
Jenny
they're
got.
the
him.
original ones.
Well, maybe you just bought
Guys, Nikes are good shoes. They'll last forever.
They ain't that good.
They'll last 10,000 miles.
They ain't gonna run 3 years back and forth across the United States of America.
It's crazy.
I'm sorry.
It's crazy.
Anyways, okay, yeah. So those were the 3 traumatic scenes for me.
Totally.
So but then we have like the most memorable scene. So obviously for me, the most memorable one when I was little, I believe, was the Vietnam scene, which I guess started my weird fascination with Vietnam War movies. I'm not sure, but it
started my
that's why.
fascination being terrified of them.
Sure.
I hate Vietnam
That makes sense.
movies. I don't know why that violence is like the worst for me.
Just Vietnam or any war movie?
Well, any war movie, but like, you know what it reminded me of? So, like we said, it's like kind of like, I mean, it's like PG-13 Vietnam War. So they like don't show a lot. They show guys being like, and being like blown over the side.
Fireballs.
Just like a fireball. But remember in Saving Private Ryan? Also Tom Hanks. This is what turned me up from war movies. Because they do have the scene where like the guy who is like the telephone guy in this movie gets killed. And he's just like lying there with blood on his face. That's fine. In Saving Private Ryan, literally the most distressing part of that movie is that Tom Hanks is with the telephone guy. And he's like, oh, hello, blah, blah, blah. And then he like turns around and talks to somebody else or whatever. And then turns around and the guy's face is blown off. Do you remember that?
No, I've never
Oh my
seen
God, it's
Saving
like
Private
literally
Ryan.
the most terrifying thing in the world.
But can we talk about the telephone guy? So like they had the telephone thing in World War II.
I mean, they're basically like, I think like a walkie-talkie. It's like a radio.
It was like a phone with
I
like
know.
a cord.
But I think it's like a radio.
Okay, that always confused the fuck out of me when I was little too.
Because
they
had him
how
in
do
World
they
War
have a
II. They had him in
phone that
World War
is
II.
working out there? Okay,
It's like a portable radio, like essentially.
that makes more sense. Okay, but yeah, the Vietnam scene, totally. Also traumatic. I should say this is kind of sweet confusion, but not really. But the beginning scene when young Forrest needs to go to school, and his mom's like, "Is there anything we can do to like get him into the school?" And the guy's like, super creepy. Do not remember that scene at all when I was little.
Wow.
Like I
Okay,
really
that,
like.
scarred
I mean,
me
I
for
remember
life,
it
that
now, but like
scene.
when I was little, I don't remember watching that. And like, if I did, maybe I blocked it out. I don't know, but it's horrifying, and it's just really gross.
Yeah, I mean, good for Mrs. Gump for doing that, but like, what the fuck? It's disgusting. Like, it's sick what she
That
like
guy
had to
is
do
gross.
to get her kid into like just a public school. So the Vietnam War for me definitely like stuck with me, and then basically like all the very distressing Jenny scenes revolving around her taking drugs or her getting beaten up, or like I think like the dad scene where you find out that Jenny is basically being molested. And she like doesn't come to school one day. So Forrest goes to visit her, and she's like in the backyard, like staring at like a corn stalk. And
Her dress is ripped.
and her dress is ripped, and she's a little bloody, and it's like not great. So you can hear the dad being like, "Jenny, where are you?" And he's like kind of flipping out. And she takes Forrest in his little hand and like runs with him into the cornfield, and then they do that little prayer that's like, "Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far away from here." I don't know why that like stuck with me forever.
That was a really good impression.
And then you have the dad who they don't ever show his face. He just is like swinging a beer bottle, and he's like, Jenny.
Right, and they never say that like he's molesting them, but he's Forrest says he is always touching her and her sister,
that's, like,
which
literally-
to Forrest did not
Right.
like represent that like evilness, but to us we're like, ooh.
It's funny that this movie isn't direct about like almost anything. Like he doesn't come out and say almost anything, which is like makes sense because like you said, that's how Forrest saw it. So like you as the audience, I think are supposed to like leave it vague as well. But you know what they're implying, you know? And then continue with the Jenny stuff. So it's like all like, you know, there's the instance where the Wesley, the like hippie boyfriend or like anti-Vietnam War vet boyfriend hits her like awful. And then when she's like the disco queen and she has like that boyfriend, you don't see him hit her, but she has a black eye. And then you see her boyfriend had like the Ron Jeremy boyfriend like shoot up heroin, and then she's like flipping out on the
That
bed,
scarred me
and
for
then
life.
and then almost tries to jump off the balcony.
No, well, the part about that freaks me out is that after the Ron Jeremy guy shoots up, he like reaches out
We just
and like
discovered that
and-
look like a lookalike
Yeah.
for Ron Jeremy.
He like reaches out and like touches her back, and he's like fucked up, and he's like, "Ooh." I don't know why that always like scared the shit out of me. But yeah, but then she climbs up on that fucking ledge with those fucking platform shoes, you guys.
With those shoes, she should have been a goner. I'm sorry.
Instantly,
Yes.
the ledge was not long
And
enough
she
to
had
support those
there's nothing
shoes.
to grab on. It was like cement. Like she
It
should
was
have
fucking
fallen.
scary. I freaked out.
That's a
little
good
bit.
scene. Robin Wright does a great job in that scene.
Yeah,
though, 'cause
she's-
it's like
well,
you're like.
she's-
I mean, that's just like I think was maybe her rock. Seems like it was her rock bottom. I think she
Yep,
and
I
you
agree.
really like can sense that. And then she goes home, and that's when they make baby Forrest. But yeah, all those scenes for whatever reason, like, just are the ones that really stuck out with me. I mean, all the historical scenes are really great. And I think this is where this movie gets a bad rap, as we said in the beginning, is they kind of wedge Forrest into all these very big moments in history. So you have him, so it becomes almost like this history lesson, which isn't like, is a very fun part of this movie, but I think one that isn't like it's supposed to be kind of like a fun part of it, I would say. It's not supposed to be like the main part.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with that, like, motif of, are we just going along randomly in our lives, or is there a purpose for everything? And, like, I think they're kind of saying that, like, Forrest was at all these critical moments of history for a reason, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they're essentially suggesting he's like the impetus for a lot of these historical events, like for cracking Watergate, for introducing Elvis to his like cool dance moves that made him iconic, the smiley face T-shirt that Sweetie hates, John Lennon writing Imagine, like all that stuff. It's kind of like Back to the Future, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, right, which is same director, right? Yes! So I think he does like to play with that sort of a thing.
I think that's in the book
too, yeah. But for me, I think that's the part that doesn't age well for this movie, that it's too many. It gets to be, and that's why I said why the end kind of rubs me a little bit wrong, just the smiley face part and the bumper sticker part. It just went. They just did one too many.
Like,
it was almost
get
like
it,
you should have taken those back.
Yuck.
That just kind of cheapened the whole what they were trying to do. But as a history major, like I love like all that history stuff. I think it's really funny. I think it was the way they did it was clever and almost like a little tongue in cheek, which was funny.
I don't know how many times I asked Dad to explain Watergate to me, but guys, I still don't really get it.
Explain it to you later.
It's fucking confusing, but I still So he's in the hotel. So the Watergate Hotel was a hotel, but he's saying the office across the way, but that was still part of the hotel.
So
the Democratic
National Committee had their offices in the Watergate.
Yep. Which was owned by Nixon?
No. So the Watergate was a hotel.
To stay there?
Because it's a great hotel. It was brand new. There were offices there, but you could stay there. They were like hotels.
Didn't he know his guys were like breaking into
No. So he didn't. So he found out after. So a big part why he got in trouble and why he ended up having to resign. He actually did like way other things that he did directly know about. But he did have these kind of like henchmen who were doing all these things kind of for him, but he was out of the know mostly. But what happened was that he did find out about that and didn't directly go to anybody and been like, hey, people who I'm associated with did this basically on my behalf, but I know nothing about it. Then he probably would have been okay. But he didn't, and he lied about it. And then he just fired a lot of people who knew about it. It got really ugly. Yeah. So
thank you for that, sweetie history lesson.
So that stuff is great. I mean, it's funny, and I think they do like a good job of it. But like I said, I think it just goes like a little overboard. But yeah, great history lesson. I mean, this basically, and what you do realize, almost like watching Mad Men, right? That period of time. So you have Forrest being born in like the early 50s. 40. What did I say?
55.
45. Jenny was born in. Yeah. So, but by the time you see them, it's like mid 50s. So you have mid 50s. 60s, 70s, and then like this is like early 80s when he meets Jenny again, right? And she's sick. But you realize like basically the 60s were like the most like fucked up time ever. So much shit happened, and like basically this movie should just be called like Everyone Was Assassinated, because he goes through so like, oh well, then there was this guy, but then someone decided to shoot him,
and then for no good reason at all, someone decided to shoot that poor man.
Right. So it's all these mostly politicians, obviously the Kennedys. They do the like Ford being shot. So that's
Reagan.
And you just realize that was such a huge theme for, and knock on wood, we haven't had an assassination attempt in like a long time. But you realize that for a couple decades there, that was just like people were just getting assassinated like right and left, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
But I mean, the 60s were just insane.
But yeah, I do love how so funny. So one of my earliest memories of this movie is that when I was in 4th grade, a bunch of kids from the high school came and like made it like showed us this movie and then taught like history lessons around it, and they like brought the soundtrack and they were talking to us about the Vietnam War and everything. It was so random. They like used it as like history like text. I don't know, but I mean I got a lot of information from that, and I'll never forget it. But I love those parts definitely.
You know what parts I also like too, and it happens like twice in it, but I always found them very creative. So the two sort of like historical flashbacks. So the first one being when he talks about Bubba's mom and like why he's into shrimping, and basically how like they show his mom being like a slave. And then like the next generation, so it's like a servant, yeah, and then like whatever she does now. And then they do it again for when they talk about how Lieutenant Dan and his family has had a member of his family die in every major like U.S. war. So it's like funny because it's Gary Sinise, Lieutenant Dan, and the first one is like a Revolutionary War, but it's them all just basically like clutching their chest and like dying on the ground. So it's like some guy in like a Minuteman like costume, and then the next one is like the Civil War costume, and then the next one is World War I, which were those hats that were like super iconic. Yep, and then the fourth one is World War II, which is more like the technical hats we wear today. I think that part is so like it's really sad, but like pretty funny.
And I wonder if that's like in Forrest's mind is what he sees when he envisions that everybody in his family died in an important war. Yeah. It's kind of a cool way to look at it.
Yeah, but I like those parts. I like that like kind of like cleverness about it. Speaking of Gary Sinise, as I told Sweetie when we were watching this, oddly attracted to Gary Sinise in this film.
To Scary Sinise?
Scary Sinise.
That's what I call him.
He is. I mean, he's very like severe face.
Very scary face.
Yes,
about
he does.
him.
But for some reason, especially in the beginning when he's Lieutenant Dan with his legs, woo, I don't know. And he's like all sweaty and like, like oddly attracted. And like, because I think also he's like giving him all those instructions or something. And there's something about him being like commanding them. Find it very, very hot.
Psycho. Like I feel like he's a psychopath in real life, so it just makes me like distance myself.
What is he been doing now?
Because isn't he like isn't he the other guy in Face Off or no?
No,
Nick Cage and
John Travolta.
Oh yeah, you're right. What am I thinking? Oh, that movie Snake Eyes. Have you ever seen that?
No.
I feel like
I
watched that on TV.
The boxing?
Yeah, didn't get any of it, but I was like, I don't know. And then still in that movie, I think he's the good guy, but still I was like, he scares me.
I don't know what he's done lately. I mean, remember he was in CSI New York for like ever, which was like the dumb knockoff of CSI.
That one got canceled.
But he's great in this. But yeah, I'm oddly. And then Sweetie was like, Are you attracted to Lieutenant Dan? Like when he's in the wheelchair with like long scraggly hair and no legs? I'm like, no, but sort of.
He just seems so smelly to me. Like you're always talking about the like poop in a bucket, but I just imagine like pee-soaked pants and like pee pants all over the place. But Sweetie got randomly turned on when he had to get back into his wheelchair after he fell on the ground.
I think it's his arms. I think I'm just attracted to his arms. Okay, let's
he did
narrow
work
it down.
on those. Was all he could do with the weight. So
it was awesome.
Got him going good. So one of the director trademarks of Robert Zemeckis is that he always does this thing where like he matches the music with the action on the screen. So he does that in Back to the Future a lot. There's like that whole like Mr. Sandman and Make Me a Dream. Like it's that whole thing. It's basically kind of narrating what Marty is thinking in his head. And in this one, there's a couple of scenes, but the one that sticks out to couple that stick out to me are that the first time they meet Lieutenant Dan, Respect is playing because they need to like respect their lieutenant. And then there's the if you're going to San Francisco, when someone's like, do you want to go to San Francisco? And then Jenny goes to San Francisco.
I mean, it's right on the nose. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
There's stuff like that. Like that's kind of his thing.
But I will say this movie has a great soundtrack, which it needed to have, because with a movie that goes through like decades like this, like music, you understand how much music frames like life when you see a movie like this, and basically like through the decades they use the songs that were popular at that time.
But when I hear those songs now, I always think of this movie. Like I'll never not hear Native or Unfortunate. What is it called? Fortunate Son.
That's the one that really stands out for me.
That's like the Vietnam song. The one where she's on the ledge, which we thought was Break On Through to the Other Side, but it's not. Now I forget what song it is, but I'll just keep pretending that it's Break On Through. There's just like so good.
It's a great soundtrack, and Fortunate Son. Like I will not ever like
it ain't me.
Think and see like helicopters like in rice paddies when I think of that song. It's such a great song. I mean, Creedence. If you don't know Creedence Clearwater Revival,
CCR.
Hello, like best band ever. Check them out; they're amazing. But yeah, I agree that the soundtrack is bam. So what about? Let's talk about Jenny's illness now.
Okay.
So this is a huge point of controversy for this film. As we said before, Robert Zemeckis leaves stuff sort of vague, and I think on purpose. because then he didn't have to do like a lot of work, maybe in other ways by leaving stuff kind of open. And I guess in terms of Jenny, that character didn't even specify to Robin Wright what she had or was afflicted with. But
Wait, Jenny, the character, didn't specify to Robin Wright who's playing her?
no,
Jenny's
the
a real
director.
person? Oh.
The director didn't specify to Jenny,
Oh.
aka Robin Wright,
Oh.
that what she had.
Well, again, but thinking about this, I wonder if it's because for Forrest, it doesn't matter like what it was, right?
Yeah.
Like he just sees the world as this and that,
Yeah.
and so like she's dying is all he needed
But it's
to
like,
know.
why did they use the term virus?
Right.
If you use the term virus, everyone jumps to HIV. But the reason why that doesn't make sense is because neither little Forrest or Forrest had it. So you're like, was it HIV? And I think that was like kind of like a point of controversy. So with a little bit more thought behind it, people now think it's maybe hepatitis C, which was sort of like no one knew what it was until 1989, I guess. So this was like early to mid 80s, and is something that if you were an IV drug user was something that was passed through needles. So it seems like she was doing that. Again, like it's something that's passed through sex though, I think. So you can get it like transferred that way. Maybe not as much as HIV
Not
is
to
though.
a baby. Yeah, I don't know.
But so it
and
could
I
have been
think-
that.
Yeah, and I think another theory is that she contracted HIV after she had little Forrest. She had like a relapse, is the popular theory. Which, like, I don't know. She seemed to have her shit together once little Forrest came along, and I don't want to make judgments, but I think she was fine. And then, lastly, that you don't
see her being sick.
right, but you don't always, I guess, pass HIV through sex. Like you can usually, but sometimes it doesn't. Right. So
You usually have to have like
maybe
it's easier if you had like
maybe
an
it was
open-
just luck, as luck would have it.
Usually, like there has to be an
It didn't
open
happen.
cut or something on
I
you.
know. You know what my friend Phoebe told me today? Hey Phoebe, at lunch is that like 3% or something of women, Eastern European women, have like can't get AIDS. They're immune to AIDS,
Wow.
to HIV.
That's cool.
I know. I'm like, dang,
them.
I wish I had that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But then, and then I wanted to talk about kind of along that line, kind of what I said before about kind of the advancements that we have now in medicine and technology that was made problems for the people in this movie, but now that would be not an issue now, right? So we brought up like special education. So there's this part in the beginning where they say that Forrest is under the level of IQ to attend public school. And like, were they doing IQ tests to like let kids into school? Like they don't do that.
That seems
now,
weird.
do they?
Yeah.
Isn't that
I
weird?
don't know. It seemed all bullshit.
So then the guy is like, the superintendent or whatever is like, he's gonna have to go to a special school, and she didn't want him to be, wanted him to be like a regular kid because she's always telling him like, you're like everybody else, you're like everybody else. And then so then Sweetie was like, oh, I bet it was like a mental institution, because really there was no special ed then, and really wasn't a lot of special ed even like when we were kids. I mean, it was kind of just starting to the level that we have now, where people have, IEPs and like all that stuff. I mean, that we've come so far with that to the point where like if you do, and there's obviously like a lot more like diagnosed learning disabilities now, but like if you, I know people who I'm like pretty sure were dyslexic growing up and like didn't get any help at all and were just really bad at school.
Right.
Because they couldn't freaking read because like their brain kind of like messed up the words, or just they needed more time to work on stuff, So it's like, it's amazing out the advancements that we've made in that. So you have people who like, can learn and become successful adults and aren't just being like, oh, you have, you're slow. Sorry. Like this is your lot for the rest of your life. It's so awesome. And then along those lines too, like hepatitis C, like I said, now that's like you get medication and like you're fine. You're not dying from hepatitis C usually. And then amputees. Lieutenant Dan was in that wheelchair with stubs for years. Then he gets to walk, and it does like get fixed in the movie, but
Yeah, but it's like just like poles. And
Right.
like now they're like, they look more like legs.
and you're pretty functional,
and they
or
can-
you can run.
Right.
You can run like marathons in them.
Right. So pretty wild. Pretty
Yeah.
wild.
So it's awesome, and whatever you want to say about this world, that it is shitty for many reasons, but it's awesome that we have those advancements and stuff, and we're moving at least in that direction
Totally,
in a
totally.
positive way.
I'd like to give a shout out to Tom Hanks for having 2 awkward boob scenes in his career. What are the odds? What are the odds that he would have to like close his eyes and touch a boob or like whatever, or like look at it?
bathrobe. Oh my god.
Ew, wait, what? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Wait, go back. What happened? Why does he have the bathrobe?
Because
Wiping
he
the jizz
jizzed
off?
in his pants when he touched her boobs.
Immediately?
Yes.
Why did they use her roommate's bathrobe?
Because he was all wet from being out in the rain, so she gave him her bathrobe.
And that's why the friend's like,
Yes.
oh my god! I thought she was just like
Sweetie
that because like
confusion. Yeah.
I thought she was just doing
I'm
that.
32.
I thought she was just doing that because she knew that he was like touching her tit in front of her.
That too, but I think she's like, oh my god,
I totally missed
wardrobe
that.
has
Oh my
seen
god!
it.
All right,
Yeah.
well that brings me to my next point, which is jizz in bathrobes. No, is quotes. So this movie's highly quotable, and I don't go for the ones that life is like a box of chocolates. Blah blah blah. Everyone knows that one. That's a dumb thing. I'm not saying that. So
Hey, I said that.
sure, but I'm just saying like we don't use that. I don't know. It's like if you use
It
that,
is the worst
yeah,
one.
If you
Just
use
'cause
that,
it's overplayed.
yeah, it is. So the ones that I like to use are my favorite one of all time is when I'm apologizing to someone, I like to go, "Sorry, I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther party." I just like to say that. Secondly, is Greenbow, Alabama, and he like freaks out and yells that last part. So if I ever need to say the state of Alabama in like a sentence, that's usually how I refer to it. And then this one we used to say to the cats a lot, "You're my girl." Very sweet. And then lastly, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. I got you ice cream. I don't know. I just like to say that whenever we get ice cream. I think it's funny. Do you have any other ones?
I like "You're my girl" to Jenny. When he's like, "You're my girl. I'll always be your girl, Forrest."
Oh,
you did?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I wasn't even paying attention. I was looking at my phone. I'm a horrible podcast person. And then I didn't. No, I didn't write any, but I just wrote down all the mom lines, which I think are good. So, life is like a box of chocolates. Dumb. Stupid is, stupid does. We already explained that one.
Unpacked it.
Dying was a part of life. Good one. Very important.
It's true.
Miracles happen every day. I really like that one. Beautiful. You got to put the past behind you before you can move on. Good one, Mrs. Gump. Was she Mrs. Gump? Yeah.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah.
Ms. Gump.
Ms. Gump.
Was that her maiden name? Is that her
Oh.
husband's name? We don't know what happened to him.
Who knows? Okay, question for you. What Jenny is your favorite?
Disco Jenny.
Disco Jenny's my favorite Jenny.
Why wouldn't it
You know
be
what my
my
second
favorite?
Jenny is?
Naked Guitar Jenny.
Waitress Jenny.
Oh, really?
The
With
pink
that
waitress
hair?
one? No, when she's like the French twist and she's in like the pink one. Not like when she cuts her hair. When she's first,
When
they
she
first show her
sees
as a
Forrest.
waitress. Yes.
Oh, yeah. And then he
Waitress
like
Jenny.
opens the door to see her and she has this awful like mom haircut.
Yeah,
'Cause
not that Waitress
They're like
Jenny.
80s, time to give
Yeah,
awful
not 80s,
hairstyle. Okay.
late 70s waitress
That's what I thought
Jenny.
you mean. Yeah, that's cool. I like that too. It's a nice one. Always love a good naked guitar, Jenny. It'd be a good costume. Just wear like a nude bodysuit
bodysuit.
with like attach a guitar to you, and just like walk around.
How many roads must a man
And every like room you go into, somebody has to be like Bobby Dylan.
Well, people wouldn't even know. They just think it was funny. Though.
No, they would know it. If they were worth knowing, they would know. Like
It's a great Halloween
it's
costume.
good. Yeah, write
my
it down.
God.
Write it
Do
down.
it. Yeah, she's got some like iconic looks in this, and I mean, obviously the hippie one's like super famous, but the disco one, yes, I loved.
How do you
I would
feel
say
about her laurel crown at the wedding?
it's just too big.
Yeah.
It's too big.
It does. It's a little oversized.
And then
the dresses
the
too.
dress is too big, and
Yeah.
it's like saggy boob dress. It could have been cuter, but I think
Yeah.
she was over being cute. She's like,
Totally,
I'm done with that
totally.
part of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ready for some trivia?
Yep.
My favorite. Okay, so I already told this one about Tom Hanks getting the $40 million. Good for you, Tom. Like you need the money, but hey, making smart business decisions every day. Tom Hanks. So Tom Hanks has a brother who I didn't know, whose name is Jim Hanks.
Jim.
Jim Hanks. And he was his stand-in for when they had to do all those running scenes. So pretty cool. Or like body double. I forget which one it was. I mean, I guess they look kind of so similar going fast that it doesn't matter. Awesome. Do you know that there are 30... Okay, so Bubba Gump Shrimp after this movie, kind of like a bit after this movie, though, became like a real franchise and a real restaurant, right? So now there's 33 of them across the U.S.
Must there be more?
Pretty cool. I've never been to one of you.
They're mostly in the South, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Never been to one. Nope.
Yeah. Whenever you see Forrest, when he's like in a new part of his life, he's always wearing a blue check shirt, apparently. Interesting.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Picnic? No.
And then lastly, the iconic bench that he sits on in Savannah, Georgia, when he's waiting for the bus, and he's telling the whole story, you know, with all the different people on the bus. Oh, BT Dubs, who's your favorite person he tells the story to? I guess there's like three main ones.
I told you who it was during the movie.
I know. Tell the listeners at home.
Like, you really don't listen to me. I literally whispered to you.
I know
She's
you
my
told me.
favorite. It's the little old lady.
Yeah.
She's sweet as a button. She listens to him. She's not a dick like that fat guy who was like, we were sitting next to a millionaire this whole time.
Dick.
Also probably a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
But did that lady like miss her bus?
Yeah.
Keep listening?
And she was like, there'll be another one in a little while.
Oh my God.
And then she cries when Jenny dies and like...
No.
Oh, no, when his mama dies.
Yeah, mama dies.
Yeah. She's the greatest. I love her.
So
Bless
speaking
her
of those
soul.
benches, so there was it was really in Savannah, Georgia.
I know,
And then
I've seen
after
it.
this movie, they took it out, and then I guess they
No,
made
it's still there. There's just that was not where a bench was normally. Like if you kind of look at it, it's outside. It's outside of the hedge, and all the benches are like it's kind of outside the park.
yeah. So anyway,
All the real benches.
they
are
made
inside.
5 benches
Okay.
total. One went to the city of Savannah, which is the one that you saw.
I saw it.
One went to Steven Spielberg. Just kidding.
Oh my god!
That would be
bought
amazing.
it. I bought
know.
it.
I should have been kept that
Yeah, you should
going.
have followed through.
Okay, one went to the Smithsonian. That's pretty cool. 2 went to Paramount, who made the movie, and then the last one went to a security guard who worked on the film, random, and he always gets like asked to sell it. Like, and someone like wanted to give him $500,000.
Did he
for
win
it.
a contest? Why
No,
didn't he get
They
it?
said it was the security guard on duty, like at that time. I don't know. I need more info. Why did the security guard get the bench?
Bobby Z. Give us the
Seems
deets.
strange.
Yeah, that is strange.
Like if I was Bobby Z, like I would put that in my like freaking entranceway of my mansion, and be like, "This is the freaking Forrest Gump bench, right?"
maybe he's
Or like
not.
Tom Hanks should have it on his lawn or something, and like reenact the scene once a year. I don't
Again,
know.
he's too modest. He probably lives in a trailer. He's like, I don't care about
Who, Bobby
possessions.
Z?
No, Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't, but still, he's a modest kind of guy. He never flaunts. He's never flaunting. He just buys old typewriters.
He doesn't need to.
I know, but he loves
Perfect.
yeah.
He's a perfect person.
know,
I love him.
Yeah, I love him. Anyways, anything else while we're wrapping up?
No, that's all I got. Just a really great film.
Thank God we
enjoyed
watched it.
myself.
I feel like this is when you were kind of like, ooh, I don't
Yeah.
want to watch that. I don't know why.
Well, I was like, can
an
we be
amazing
funny?
movie.
Can we talk about it? But
Of course we can.
can.
We're always going to talk well about the movies that
I
we've
know.
seen a million times and know like back and
No.
forth. But it was fun.
Lieutenant Dan. Sorry.
Ice cream.
Jenny.
Okay. So I hope you enjoyed this, you guys. I hope you like Forrest Gump. If you don't, that's okay. Feel free to tell us about it. Tell us your thoughts. You can find us on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.